Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mail It In podcast. We're excited to kind of jump right into this. So the Detroit Red Wings. Last time we talked about them, we did the 5 minute, five topic thing where we kind of discussed the Tyler Bertuzzi situation along with where we saw the Red Wings going this season. I'm kind of gonna go more in depth with the trade deadline coming up in a couple days to a week. So I guess to start kind of off with it, two big games coming up for the Red Wings. Actually, they're playing right now.
Playing right now?
Playing right now, first period, against Ottawa. So they have two games right back to back against Ottawa, who's kind of trailing by a couple points, so they need to
Need to win.
These are some crucial games for Detroit, and it also brings kind of key attention to the players themselves in terms of being traded, I guess, to kind of put it.
Well, who was the guy that got injured? It was
Michael Rasmussen got injured against Tampa.
That's unfortunate.
He was doing really good. I mean, he's my favorite player on the Red Wings right now, and to see him go down was, obviously.
It was very Bertuzzi-like. He took a puck in the kneecap, which, any one of us can sort of feel his pain if you've ever, had been hit by a hockey puck in any manner.
Yeah. So I guess two big games coming up. They lost to Tampa 3-0 the game before. And then they've kind of had some bad luck with Pittsburgh beating Tampa Bay yesterday. So like I said, these two games are really important for the players that, I guess, how do I want to put this? These next two games will kind of show Steve Yzerman what he wants to do with the team moving forward. If they say they do lose these next two games to Ottawa, I see them, trying to get rid of the pieces like they can. I still think Tyler.
You think
Bertuzzi,
they're bailing?
I still think Tyler Bertuzzi needs to go. Look, you have, who do you have? You have Rasmussen playing the wing. You have Soderblom in Grand Rapids. Who else do you have on left wing there?
Well, again,
Verana. You have a bunch of wingers that are either up there scratched or in Grand Rapids right now.
Well, the thing with Bertuzzi is he does have,
which I don't want to talk too much about Bertuzzi.
But if you're talking trades, you got to talk. It starts with him, and
right.
We don't have to spend all our time on him. But the thing with him, and we said this in the last one too, really quickly, was he's injury prone, and that's probably the biggest strike against him. But the good thing is a lot of people, like his name. His dad played, obviously. He does put up some decent numbers. He's like the guy that if you don't know him really well, then you think, oh, that'd be a great guy to pick up. It's just that again, he has problems staying on the ice.
The main thing with him that, in terms of stats, is the Red Wings are a couple games before I looked at something, and it said with Bertuzzi on the ice, the Red Wings are like 11-3 and 5 or something, and without him, they're like 6-15-3, something crazy like that.
Small sample, but I'm not saying he sucks as a player. Obviously, he can play hockey. It's just, for me, and again, the stats better than I do, and we've watched him several times. Thank goodness for Bally Sports, because there was a few years there we couldn't hardly watch them because they're not on satellite a lot of times. But the Wings have a lot of guys that are decent. Like they have a lot of decent players right now.
Which makes it hard to evaluate who you want to trade and who you think can keep.
They have a team full of like second line and guys is the way I would describe it, even though they're not all second line. But you know what I mean? Like, they don't have any, like, superstar, like, okay, this guy is a slam dunk left wing first line. They don't really have guys like that, I don't think. They just have a lot of
Raymond could
solid.
grow into that, I feel like. But
Well, I'm saying
as of
right
now,
now.
right now.
Right. So you got a lot of second line guys. You don't, a few guys that are probably legitimately third line and solid players. So, which again is better than they've had in the past, where they've had garbage on, especially on the defensive end, and now they're growing it and it's working. So now, Steve Yzerman is at a critical point where he's not going to be able to pay all these guys, because when their contracts come up, they're going to want more money than he can probably pay because of the number of these guys. Like, they have to healthy scratch Vrana right now and other guys that probably should play, but they don't have enough roster space.
Right.
So you got your whole team is stocked with guys like that. So, I'm not talking about Larkin or whatever, but if you, at some point when their contract comes up, they may not want $10 million a year or star money, but they're going to want decent money for who they are. And he is going, the critical decisions he's going to have to make in the next few years. Which one of these guys is going to be worth keeping, and which one of them are you going to have to unfortunately say, sorry, you're going to have to, we can't afford to keep you.
So
and that's going to be key for him in the next few years.
So going back to kind of the trade talk and players that are on the market, I guess, for the Red Wings, if they say, Steve Yzerman says, look, we want to trade these guys away because, say, like you said, their contracts expire, they're going to be wanting more money. A guy to look at here would be Jacob Vrana. He's not in the lineup on a nightly basis, and that has to do with the other players. Simply, Derek Lalonde likes the other players' games right now. So just kind of throw some kind of boring stats at you. Vrana is 26 years old. He's got 1 year left on his deal with a $5.25 million cap hit. So the $5.25 million cap hit might scare some teams because they're having to take on a decent amount of cap for a guy that they really don't know what to expect from him.
He's one of these guys that could be awesome.
He could get traded and he could put up numbers like he got, like the year he got traded to Detroit for Anthony Mantha. But he to me is a player that I would like to see be re-signed, but he's got to show me something when he comes into the lineup, because I think he's played 2 games and just...
Yeah, he had some personal issues. I believe the rumor has it that was kind of some substance issues, and that took him way out of his game and way out of his rhythm. And again, it's... You got guys like that, maybe not quite that extreme, but you got other guys too that you're like, man, this guy could be something you don't know, and you just got to trust that Steve's going to make the right choice, but it's tough.
So I'm just going to, because you won't ask me the question, I'm going to imagine that you ask me this question of, okay, who on the Red Wings would Yzerman be inclined to trade?
Who
or
would
trade away?
Yzerman be inclined to trade away?
So Jacob Vrana would be one. For right now, Tyler Bertuzzi's off the trade market, but I'd like to see him go. Another guy, Jake Wallman, who got traded for... Who did he get traded for? Nick Leddy. I believe Nick Leddy. He is a top 2D, at least on the Red Wings with Mo Seider. I really like his game. He was taken off the trade block by Steve Yzerman, so I think that was a good move. Guys who I do want to see traded, not do, but I wouldn't be surprised if they moved on, would be a guy like Philip Zadina. Zadina has played better this year when he's came back from his injury. He's been working hard, and I think he could be a guy that Yzerman says, let's go move you to a team, get you a fresh start, and kind of in return, Red Wings get maybe a mid-round pick and another prospect.
Was he not the 3rd overall?
He was
several
the
years ago?
sixth overall pick.
Oh, sixth
Sixth
overall.
overall pick. Didn't really show anything. He was drafted to score goals. He hasn't scored goals. He has 2 goals in his since his debut this season, which, like I said, he's been playing
Well,
better.
it would be. Would you say that he's been a disappointment though, from the spot that he was picked in the natural normal progression?
Overall, I would say, yeah. I don't think anyone else would tell you that they, you know, they're
I would
happy
agree.
about
It's
Zadina's game.
he hasn't. He's to me he's kind of on his last leg, and if he doesn't start showing some surge, could he if he was traded, could he turn into something good? Yeah, that can always happen. I mean, but we've seen a lot. He hasn't been a goal scorer. That's really what he has. That's really his thing. Like, you got to put the puck in the net if you're him. You're a little smaller. You're not as scrappy. You're not a big defender. You're not an in front of the net guy. You're not, that you're an attack, and you're expected to score. And he just really hasn't yet. And again, I think the Wings have been patient with him. And now is the time where it's like prove it or lose it, I think, at this point.
So another guy, I think this could be controversial, but I think Philip Hronek could be a guy that I would like to see be moved, just because I can't exactly I don't exactly know what his game is and where it kind of translates to the Red Wings. He's a decent, like we were talking about. He's another one of these decent defenders who his stats on paper are really good. But to me, he just plays soft. He has a lot of turnovers in the defensive zone. That's cost the Red Wings goals. He's the guy that is going to be, once his contract is up, he's gonna go to Steve Yzerman and he's gonna say, "Look, my stats are this, and this. I should deserve X amount of money," which is like, I feel like he'd ask for at least $6 million. He's got a $4.4 million contract right now, which expires in the next 2 seasons. I think he'd look for a $6 million deal, which,
Well, they're
to
always
me,
going to look.
he's not worth that. He's not worth that
Well,
at all. And so,
if I could share a quick story, like, it seems like the games we've watched lately, and if I've been kind of walking around, haven't been really glued in on it, and I see someone like on the defensive end do something boneheaded and stupid, and I'm like, who is that idiot that just made that turnover? And Clayton's like, oh, that was Hronek. That's happened.
right.
That conversation's been had several times in the last few weeks. So I'm like, oh man.
So those are the two, besides Bertuzzi and Verana. Those are the two that I wouldn't be surprised if Yzerman made a move. I guess kind of who the Red Wings could get. Say they want to be buyers at the deadline. Couple guys in mind. They need a physical, right-handed shot defenseman. Most Siders on the right side, but other than that, they don't have anybody physical on the right side. You got Ben Sherrod over on the left, but I think a guy like Luke Shen from Vancouver, really physical player. I feel like he could fit and kind of bring the physicality that Detroit hasn't had since Giovanni Smith, who was in and out of the lineup. But I really liked Smith's game as well.
So Vancouver's obviously a team that would be selling. What other teams are there that you would say definite sellers right now?
Anaheim is seller. Columbus, Chicago. Chicago just traded today. Sam Lafferty and Jake McCabe to the Maple Leafs for a couple of their prospects. So Chicago is definitely on the tank for Bedard train.
What's funny too is that Detroit, obviously, last.
Did you see Patrick Kane was held out and actually returned back to Chicago from their road trip because they're saving him for trading him?
That's weird. If Blackhawks fans seeing Kane in a different jersey would be weird. I haven't really followed them closely. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he's not the same player he used to be, but I was just saying with the Wings, like their last 3 years or so, 4 years, they've obviously been sellers at the deadline. But the funny thing is their players have been so bad Either they've been like Larkin or whatever that you're not going to trade them because that's kind of your future, or their players have been so bad like no one really wants them anyway. Their contracts are so terrible for how bad they are.
Like Jonathan Erickson, Danny
Right.
DeKaiser, all
So
those
the
guys.
only guys they really trade are some of the guys that are kind of they sort of picked up in a trade, but they can kind of get rid of somebody. None of their homegrown guys who have been terrible contracts from the Holland era people weren't even interested. So that's why that's the nice thing. You can put somebody on waivers, and pretty much no one in their right mind is going to pick them up. So you can put them through waivers and they clear, and then you can send them down to Grand Rapids if you want
All
because
right.
they're so bad.
So just more stats here. Luke Shen's contract is $850,000, so that's a viable contract if you want to go and rent him out for a year. Get that physicality if you want to go on a run. Another guy would be former Red Wing Nick Jensen. He's on the last year of his contract. I liked Nick Jensen when he played for the Red Wings. I don't know if you remember who he is.
I do. Yeah, I don't remember him being very good, but maybe I'm wrong.
I thought he was pretty solid. I don't know about this year necessarily, but he's got a $2.5 million deal. So he's probably the third one on this list in terms of right-handed D that I'd want to go and get. Another guy from the Capitals would be Trevor Van Riemsdyk, another right shot D. He's got a $950,000 cap with a 1-year deal. So kind of all those right-handed D would be rentals just to go and shore up the defense there.
Yeah, but if you're the Red Wings, do you really want rentals?
I think they could rent it out just to see where they'd go.
If they make the playoffs, no one's expecting them to go.
And they're young enough that they can re-sign them if they want a $1 million contract.
If you think you can re-sign them, that's one thing. But rentals are really for the Bruins or teams like that are just looking for that last piece to kind of give them a little insurance or put them over the top.
Right. And then just kind of one more. Sean Monahan from the Montreal Canadiens dealing with an injury, but really expensive contract to take on. Probably, besides Nick Jensen, probably the least likely Steve Yzerman would do. He's got a $6.375 million cap for one season. He's 28 years old. Kind of to me, he'd be like a second line forward, kind of can play all over. And I don't know if Detroit necessarily needs that, but if Yzerman says, hey, Montreal, we'll swap 1-year contract players, Bertuzzi and Monahan, kind of both injury prone, also around the same age, just to kind of switch it up a little, which it might be harmful for the Red Wings, I guess, because kind of screw up their chemistry, but
yeah. And that's the other part of it too. Like it's the intangibles is like, and only the players and the GM coaches know that stuff. It's kind of hard to, I read somewhere like they said Joe Veleno was like kind of the comedy guy. Like you need guys like that in the locker room to just keep things loose and keep guys, laughing a little bit, So those guys, you can't underestimate that factor. But obviously, it's not the biggest factor when it comes to a contract. But those guys are, and there's examples, of course, over the course of time and history of sports that are guys that weren't necessarily great, but as soon as the team traded them, they sucked because they were chemistry guys.
So I kind of gave a breakdown about who I could see getting traded, who I could see the Red Wings trading for. My opinion personally, I think the Red Wings won't do anything. If I'm completely honest, I don't think a single player gets traded. I don't think they go and trade for a single person. I think they stay the same and say, hey, look, if we make the playoffs, great. That's a step up from last year. If we don't make the playoffs, we'll get another pick and then go about the offseason. But I don't see Steve Yzerman making any moves this trade deadline unless they start losing.
Let me ask you
this. They lose 2 straight to Ottawa, and then they keep losing before the deadline.
Are there any first line guys, probably primarily wings and centers, that are having fallouts with current teams? I mean, to me, those kind of guys, teams don't usually want to trade, unless there's some kind of fallout or something, or the guy says, I don't want to be back here, like doesn't like the coach or something. Are there any guys even out there like that?
are you asking
on
like
first line guys.
is there any first line players that teams are willing to trade? Is that
Yeah,
what,
or just because, like I said, they're not getting along with the coach, or they're trying to, like, there's some kind of reason that they want to just part ways.
I guess it wouldn't be, at least not that I'm aware of, it wouldn't be a situation with Johnny Gaudreau in Columbus where he hates it there. I don't think he has an issue necessarily, but they are the worst team in the NHL right now. He's an all-star. He's a good player. Do the Columbus Blue Jackets say go play on a playoff team again and we'll get some assets for you? I guess I don't know that question. That'd be the only player I see that's first line that that a team would be like, here, go to another team and go to the
Right.
playoffs. But
That was just because of some problems that Columbus had between him and the coaching staff, I believe, right?
Johnny Gaudreau?
Yeah, maybe
No,
I'm wrong.
that
Maybe
that
I'm
was
thinking
that
of
was
someone else.
that was Patrick. No, that was Pierre-Luc Dubois a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
So, yeah, we kind of discussed the Detroit trade deadline and what we think we're
for
we're
21
gonna
and a
see.
half minutes, wow.
So, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, comment, and also subscribe. Tune
Yeah.
in for more content. We'll talk to you later.